Imagine holding your breath, not for a minute or two, but for 5 whole minutes. Difficult, isn't it? Most of us can't even fathom the idea of going without air for that long. Now imagine that for those 5 minutes, every single living being on Earth loses access to oxygen. Every breath you take, every move you make suddenly becomes a struggle for survival. It sounds like science fiction, but the consequences of such an event would be very real. The world as we know it would be thrown into chaos. We often take oxygen for granted. It's always there, an invisible yet essential part of our lives. It's the invisible gas that fuels our every breath, the element that allows life to thrive on this planet. Without it, life as we know it would cease to exist. The lush rainforests, the vibrant coral reefs, the bustling cities all depend on this vital element. But what if it were to vanish, even for a short time? The impact would be immediate and catastrophic. The answer, as we'll discover, is a cascade of events with potentially devastating consequences. Buildings would crumble as the lack of oxygen would weaken the very materials they're made of. Vehicles would come to a halt, engines failing without the necessary combustion. Fires would extinguish, unable to sustain themselves. The very fabric of our daily lives would unravel in those 5 minutes. Emergency services would be overwhelmed, trying to manage the sudden surge of crises. Hospitals would struggle to keep patients alive without oxygen supplies. The ripple effects would be felt in every corner of the globe. Scientists have long studied the importance of oxygen, understanding its role in sustaining life. Yet, the hypothetical scenario of its sudden disappearance serves as a stark reminder of our vulnerability. So the next time you take a deep breath, remember the invisible force that makes it possible. Appreciate the air that fills your lungs and sustains your life. Because in the grand scheme of things, it's the little things, like oxygen, that make all the difference. And while the idea of a 5-minute gap in oxygen may seem far-fetched, it underscores the importance of protecting our environment and ensuring that the air we breathe remains clean and abundant for generations to come. Oxygen is essential for life as we know it. It's the key ingredient in the process of respiration, which allows animals, including humans, to convert food into energy. Without oxygen, our cells wouldn't be able to function. We would quite literally run out of energy. But oxygen's importance extends far beyond just breathing. It plays a vital role in countless biological processes, from the decomposition of organic matter to the formation of our planet's protective ozone layer. Its absence, even for a short period, would send shockwaves through every corner of our world. For humans, the lack of oxygen would have immediate and drastic consequences. Within seconds, our bodies would start to react. We would feel an intense burning sensation in our lungs as they desperately try to extract oxygen from the air that's no longer there. Our brains, which rely heavily on oxygen, would start to shut down within minutes. We would experience dizziness, confusion, and eventually, loss of consciousness. 5 minutes without oxygen is an incredibly long time for the human body to endure, and for many, it could prove fatal. The lack of oxygen wouldn't just affect our ability to breathe, it would disrupt countless processes within our bodies. Our cells, starved of the oxygen they need to produce energy, would start to die. Our organs, including our heart, brain, and kidneys, would begin to fail. The delicate balance of our internal systems would be thrown into chaos, leading to a cascade of health problems that could have long-term or even permanent effects. Section 5. An unseen crisis. Earth without air. Imagine a world where the very air we breathe suddenly vanished. This isn't just a nightmare scenario, it's a glimpse into an unseen crisis that could unfold in mere minutes. The impact of an oxygenless 5 minutes wouldn't be limited to humans. Our bodies, so dependent on oxygen, would begin to shut down almost immediately. Cells would start to die, and brain function would cease within minutes. Animals across the globe would face the same terrifying predicament. Wildlife, from the dense jungles to the vast savannas, would be thrown into chaos. From the tiniest insects to the largest whales, every creature that relies on oxygen to survive would be gasping for air that isn't there. Insects, often overlooked, play crucial roles in pollination and decomposition. Their sudden struggle would ripple through ecosystems. The scenes would be chaotic and heartbreaking. Predators and prey alike would be united in their desperate search for oxygen, creating a surreal and tragic tableau of nature in distress. Birds would fall from the sky, their wings unable to support them. These creatures, symbols of freedom and grace, would be grounded, their lives cut short in mid-flight. Fish would rise to the surface of the water, desperately gulping for air. Aquatic life, which depends on dissolved oxygen, would be thrown into turmoil, with entire populations at risk of suffocation. Mass die-offs would occur across ecosystems, disrupting food chains and ecological balances that have taken millennia to establish. The loss of key species would trigger a cascade of extinctions, altering the very fabric of life on Earth. The absence of oxygen would not only affect the living, but also the processes that sustain life, such as photosynthesis in plants. Without oxygen, plants would be unable to produce the energy they need, leading to a collapse in plant life and further exacerbating the crisis. This unseen crisis would remind us of the delicate balance that sustains life on our planet, a balance that we often take for granted. Section 6. The silent struggle. Animals gasping for life. Some animals might be able to survive the 5-minute oxygen outage. Certain species of fish, for example, have gills that allow them to extract oxygen from water. Other creatures, like some reptiles and amphibians, can hold their breath for extended periods. However, even for these animals, the experience would be incredibly stressful and could have long-term consequences. The sudden lack of oxygen would trigger a survival response, causing them to expend precious energy and potentially leaving them vulnerable to predators or other environmental threats. Section 7. Water's hidden depths. Oxygen's role unveiled. The disappearance of oxygen would have a profound impact on our planet's aquatic ecosystems. While we often think of water as being separate from the air, the two are intimately connected. Oxygen dissolves in water, providing a vital lifeline for fish and other aquatic organisms. Without oxygen, these delicate underwater worlds would be thrown into disarray. Fish would suffocate, coral reefs would bleach and die, and entire ecosystems would collapse. The consequences for marine biodiversity would be catastrophic. Section 8. The green world fades. Plants under stress. Plants, unlike animals, produce their own oxygen through photosynthesis. However, they also need oxygen to survive. They use it to break down the sugars they produce, releasing energy for growth and other processes. Without oxygen, plants would be unable to perform this crucial function. They would start to wilt and die, turning from vibrant shades of green to brown and yellow. The loss of plant life on such a massive scale would have dire consequences for the planet's atmosphere, climate, and food chains. Section 9. Picking up the pieces after the 5 minutes. After the 5 minutes of oxygen deprivation, assuming the world returned to normal, the process of recovery would be slow and arduous. The immediate crisis might be over, but the long-term consequences would linger for decades, if not centuries. Ecosystems would need to rebuild from the ground up. Plants and trees, the very foundation of our natural world, would begin their slow regrowth. Time-lapse footage would show the painstaking process of nature recovering, each new leaf a testament to resilience. The smoke would clear, revealing a landscape forever changed. Emergency responders would work tirelessly to manage the aftermath of the crisis, but their efforts would only be the beginning of a long journey towards restoration. The long-term environmental impact would be profound. Landscapes would show visible changes over time, aging ecosystems struggling to adapt to the new reality. The scars of those 5 minutes without oxygen would serve as a stark reminder of the fragility of our planet. Biodiversity would slowly begin to recover. Wildlife would cautiously return to their habitats, each species playing a crucial role in the rebuilding of ecosystems. The interdependence of species would become more apparent than ever. Animal populations would need to recover, with fish schools returning to clear waters and nature beginning to thrive once more. The delicate balance of nature would need to be restored, a process that would require time, patience, and unwavering dedication. The harmonious natural environments we once took for granted would need to be carefully nurtured back to health. The interdependent species within each ecosystem would need to find their balance again, a dance of survival and coexistence. The damaged landscapes would stand as a somber reminder of the disaster. Environmental degradation would be evident, and the reminders of our ecological fragility would be impossible to ignore. The scars would be a constant call to action. The importance of protecting the very air we breathe would become a central focus. Pollution and air quality would be scrutinized more than ever, and people would rally to protect nature. Environmental conservation efforts would gain unprecedented momentum, driven by the collective realization of our planet's vulnerability. Communities would come together to rebuild, planting trees and fostering hope and resilience. The journey to recovery would be long, but the spirit of unity and determination would light the way forward. Together, we would strive to heal the wounds of our world and ensure a safer, more sustainable future for generations to come. Section 10, a sobering thought respecting our air. The hypothetical scenario of Earth losing oxygen for 5 minutes, while unlikely, serves as a powerful reminder of our dependence on this invisible life force. It highlights the interconnectedness of all living things and the delicate balance that sustains life on our planet. As we continue to grapple with the challenges of climate change and environmental degradation, let us remember the importance of preserving the very air we breathe. The future of life on Earth in all its beauty and diversity depends on it.